I told you this was big news and no one listened. Now we've got a whole new way to break martial combat in D&D. There's been plenty of discourse covering the new boosts for martial classes in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Weapon mastery, improved class features, and something else buried in the rules glossary that I actually touched on a couple of months ago. Specifically, these new rules for the attack action read as follows. You can either equip or unequip one weapon when you make an attack as part of this action. You do so either before or after the attack. If you equip a weapon before an attack, you don't need to use it for that attack. Equipping a weapon includes drawing it from a sheath or picking it up. Unequipping a weapon includes sheathing, stowing, or dropping it. Rolls off the tongue like poetry. I usually don't read the rules verbatim on this channel, but the wording here is extremely important in order to understand how this all comes together. There was originally some debate about how to interpret this rule as it's written. Either it means that equipping in this way is only triggered once per attack action, or it's triggered once per attack included in that action. But I think it's pretty clear. Basically, this triggers on each attack you get to make so long as it's included in the attack action specifically. Bonus action attacks will not do it for us. And for those of you wondering, we do still get one free interaction per turn when we are in combat that we can use to equip or stow a weapon, among other things like opening doors, and this works in addition to the new rules. This means that as, say, a level 5 fighter with the extra attack feature, we can either equip or stow a weapon for free, then equip or stow 2 more times, one for each attack that we get to make with our attack action. Right about now, you might be wondering how something so seemingly innocuous could have such major implications for how we play martial builds, and there are actually several reasons. The first and most obvious reason is weapon mastery. I won't bore you with the specifics for each mastery property since I've already covered that in this video here, but let's consider a few scenarios. Maybe you're a level 5 paladin with a maul who lands a topple attack on an enemy that sends them tumbling to the ground as they're forced prone. From here, hitting them with that weapon again won't do anything outside of damage. So you could instead stow your maul as part of the first attack and make your second advantaged attack by equipping a war pick that has the sap property. This would deal a similar amount of damage and make it so that the enemy has disadvantage to hit you even if they stand back up on their turn. Then, on the next turn, you could just try running that weapon swap in reverse. A level 5 barbarian might jab an enemy with a pike in order to push them 10 feet into a position that's next to another enemy before swapping out to a great axe with the cleave mastery. This will grant them attacks on both foes since they're within 5 feet of each other. A level 5 fighter could utilize a longbow with a heavy crossbow and apply both slow and push weapon masteries as enemies struggle to get within spitting distance.
Wait! Get over here! We just want a Haktua!
Or even a level 1 character could greatly benefit from this. When we attack with a weapon that has the light property like a short sword, we can then attack with a different light weapon like the dagger using our bonus action. Since the short sword has the Vex mastery, our dagger attack would be made at advantage, and since the dagger has the Nick mastery, this second attack is actually made as part of the same action. So our bonus action stays free, and we only have to use one hand to wield both of our weapons. But we have 2 hands, right? Why do we care about swapping these weapons if we could just wield both of them at the same time? Welcome to weapon juggling. You may have assumed that everything so far was weapon juggling, and while all that is useful in its own right, it's actually all just a primer for what I'm about to show you. Simply put, having your hand free and still benefiting from 2 attacks at such low level has a lot of powerful implications. We could use our offhand to hold a shield for at least an extra 2 AC. We can wield a spellcasting focus. We can also just keep that hand free for somatic gestures. Or maybe just rude ones. Suddenly, we see a wealth of possibilities open up here. We could play a character that juggles a short sword and scimitar with the 2-weapon fighting style to deal extra damage while also wielding a shield. We could cast the Divine Favor spell with our free hand as a bonus action for an extra 1d4 radiant damage on every weapon attack as we yeet hand axes and daggers at our enemies. We can even utilize the dueling fighting style with this method for an extra +2 on all of our one-handed weapon damage, since we're never actually wielding a weapon in our other hand. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. At later levels, a feat like Shield Master can give us a free chance on each turn to knock a creature prone, while we also benefit from our other juggling tactics. Or the dual wielder feat can actually grant us yet another attack as a bonus action that operates independently of the extra attack we get from the light property in the Nick Weapon Mastery. This interaction has supposedly already been clarified by Jeremy Crawford at Gen Con, so if it's confusing, you can either just trust me or yell at Jeremy on Twitter. Don't actually yell at Jeremy, please. He's a very nice person. Either way, this means that at level 5, we could have a weapon juggling ranger that wields a shield while they stab and slash at enemies with up to 4 separate attacks that could all conceivably benefit from an extra 1d6 damage with Hunter's Mark, if we have it applied already. Don't believe me? Let's walk through it step by step. To begin, we initiate our first of 2 attacks as part of the attack action with a short sword. This is a light weapon with the Vex Mastery, so it satisfies both the requirement for the dual wielder feat and the light property at the same time. As part of this first attack, we'll stow our short sword after we swing with it. Then we'll make our second of 2 attacks at advantage if we hit earlier by drawing our scimitar and swinging with it. Technically, this attack also satisfies the requirement for our dual wielder feat. This is important to point out since we want to make our final attack with our short sword, and the feat states that we must use a different weapon than we did for the triggering attack. We'll then benefit from the scimitar's Nick Mastery to make yet another attack as part of this action, keeping our bonus action free for later as we then stow the scimitar as part of that attack. So, after this, we can use our 1 free interaction per round to draw our short sword and swing with it again. If you're still following along, keep in mind that the dual wielder feat does not require our bonus action be with a light weapon. It must simply lack the 2-handed property, so you could choose something that deals more damage, but that Vex Weapon Mastery is going to do us a lot of good here, and having the short sword out to start the next turn means we can repeat this all over again. In summary, if we factor in the dueling fighting style, our modifiers, Hunter's Mark, and the average damage from each attack, that's an average of 42 damage in a single round if we hit with everything, which is actually pretty likely with so much advantage flying around. All of this is possible while we wear a shield, and I'm not even factoring in other bonuses to damage like what the Ranger gets from most of its subclasses. Was this all an excuse to rant and rave about one of my favorite classes being better than most people think? Maybe. Can a wizard still outdamage this tactic with just a single fireball? Probably so. But there's no doubt that this weapon juggling tactic takes weapon mastery, fighting styles, and feats to an even higher level than ever before, and it'll be a staple at a lot of tables that want to get the most out of their martial builds. If you'd like to see how that plays into each class specifically, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out my 2024 class guides for more cool combos. But until next time, go out there and make some chaos.